Evening, guys. Welcome to Carving It Up. I'm Bryson, and I gotta say, I'm excited for the show that we have for you guys tonight. I'm excited to have Arthur Hurst on, who is my co-host on the Saturday Morning Tailgate podcast, along with Tim Barnard. Had Tim on last Friday, having Arthur on today in about 20 minutes or so to talk college football, talk James Franklin, and some of the big SEC matchups and Notre Dame, USC. Great college football weekend. I'm going to talk about a story that has circulated the last few days that has really caught my eye, and I'll kind of touch on that later. I'm not going to give away too much. Obviously, the Vol View, third Saturday in October, Tennessee, Alabama. Cannot wait for that matchup. Tennessee trying to win in Tuscaloosa for the first time since 2003, since I was a 4-month-old. And, of course, NFL Week 7 predictions, which includes upset of the week, which I must say I'm kind of on a roll on. 4 straight upsets picked correctly, and I got a big one this week. Touch on that at the end of the show. I don't need. Am I supposed to start with the game last night? Am I supposed to start with? Okay, fine. You know what? That's what y'all tune in for. It's what y'all came to see, and I'll be darned if I disappoint y'all. So here we go. But first, my Pittsburgh Steelers last night had a golden opportunity to take, in the middle of October, by the way, a 3.5 game lead in the division, in the AFC North, which all of a sudden has become arguably the worst division in football. Cleveland's awful. We knew that. Baltimore's without Lamar Jackson. They're 1-5, and their defense is awful. Even with Lamar comes back, and Joe Burrow, the Bengals, until last night, had it 0-4 since he was injured. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, road favorites, big expectations, finally. The national audience, Thursday Night Football, standalone game, Amazon Prime, Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit on the call. It's a national audience expecting, man, Steelers going to get a good old hard-fought AFC North victory, go to 5-1, open up a massive lead in the AFC North right as they're about to go the most difficult part of their schedule. Because they got Green Bay, they got the Colts and the Chargers, and later this year they got Buffalo and Baltimore twice with Lamar and Detroit. And the schedule does not get much easier for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So could they take care of business in a spot against the Baltimore Ravens? Well, credit where it is due. And I've said, listen, it was the Unk Bowl in every way, shape, or form, and boy, did both Unks deliver. How about Aaron freaking Rodgers? You see the 2 interceptions right there. Couldn't give a crap. The first one was an awful throw. He tried to, throw a deep ball down the left sideline. A bad throw, double coverage. The second one was not Aaron's fault. The ball was literally stolen from DK Metcalf. Aaron was awesome last night. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 touchdowns against Cincinnati Bengals. 67% completion, 249 pass yards, 103 rating, and a QBR 0-100 of 76. That's 20 points higher than Aaron's season average. Aaron was great. Aaron, for the first time all year, and to be fair, Cincinnati does have a bad defense. I understand that. But for the first time since the Green Bay days, man, he was moving and grooving off platform and extending plays out of the pocket. The touchdown to Jonnu Smith first half. He's getting out, moving out to his right, and the offensive line gives him 8 seconds to throw? In some cases, he gives himself 8 seconds to throw. I'm like, whoo, hang on a second. We get Green Bay Aaron Rodgers tonight? Okay, I'll take that. We got something here. And by the way, all 4 touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers, all went to tight ends. One to Darnell Washington, who did the 6'7" celebration, which was fitting because he is 6 feet 7 inches tall. Jonnu Smith, obviously, early on, and Pat Freiermuth, who caught a couple of touchdowns in the second half, including the go-ahead one, which we'll get to later in the segment. But Aaron did his job. And for all of my concerns, for all of my skepticism on the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into this year, a season which I said, I think this is going to be the first losing season of the Mike Tomlin era. Aaron's old. Aaron was not nearly as good as his stats would show you last year. Hasn't been good since 2021. The O-line's not great. There's not a number 2 receiver opposite DK Metcalf. Can't run the ball. None of it. O-line's gotten better by the week. You got Jaylen Warren going for over 100 yards. Jaylen Warren was excellent. Aaron had his best game as a Steeler. The tight ends, all 3 of them were awesome. Arthur Smith has called a great game, generally, over the course of this season. But it's the guy who it's the biggest sham in sports, the standard in Pittsburgh, the guy who allegedly is this just mastermind, great defensive coach. Like, man, if you even so much as question what Mike Tomlin is able to do, running this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Which, by the way, can we look at what the Steelers defense is after last night? Can we show those numbers? Not very good. 17th in opponent points per game, 28th in opponent total yards per game, 31st, second to last. Only the Cowboys, who we ridicule their defense, are behind the Steelers in terms of opponent pass yards per game. You talk about the fact that Pittsburgh is 18th in opponent rush yards per game, but they've been feasting because they're third in takeaways and they are second in sacks. So this is the Steelers defense that is, if they can't bring the quarterback to the ground, if they can't take the ball away, they're cooked. Mike Tomlin. And by the way, we can talk about the fact that the second unk, Joe Flacco, was great last night. 3 touchdowns, no picks, 60% completion, 342, .08 passer rating, QBR 0 to 175. He was great. But part of the reason for that, and Jamar Chase, by the way, is excellent as well. Jamar Chase is, without question, a top 2 receiver in the game. 16 catches was the Bengals' record in a single game. 161 receiving yards, a touchdown, 10.1 yards per catch. We can talk about all those factors. But how about the fact that against, the best receiving duo in football, in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, the Steelers say, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to go straight man-to-man the whole game. That's what we're going to do. Matter of fact, the stats bear out. This is from ESPN. I got this from ESPN this morning. This is interesting and shows the lack of adjustments that Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator Steelers, made last night. Joe Flacco on 28 dropbacks against man coverage, 199 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Chase and Higgins caught 13 of 20 targets for 151 yards, despite the fact, in large part because of the fact that the Steelers play man coverage on 57% of their snaps, which is a season high. Ramsey got cooked. Joey Porter Jr., and I love Joey Porter Jr., got penalized the whole night. Could not defend without grabbing Higgins or Chase. Mostly Higgins. And Joe Flacco carved him up, to use the name of the show. And by the way, even more damning, even worse. Listen, Jamar Chase goes off on a lot of defenses. He's a great player. T. Higgins would be a number 1 receiver. I've said this many times on the show, on half the league. He's capable of going for 100, 150 yards. He went for, I think, 96 last night. He's capable for going off any game. Part of the reason that I was not as high in the Bengals this year, certainly before Burrow went down, is not just that the defense was bad and that the O-line was bad. The O-line, by the way, TJ Watt was a no-show last night against. What was because of the fact that, they don't have a run game. This whole, Chase Brown, fantasy darling, watch out for Chase. I'm like, what am I watching out for? He's an average running back. Maybe part of that is because the Bengals O-line's terrible, but from my mind's eye, from last year, I didn't think he was that good. And he wasn't, and hasn't been this season. Except for this year, put up this graphic. Thus far, Chase Brown in the first 6 games of the year, in terms of rushing yards, 43, 47, 3, 40, 27, 42. Last night, 108. Before last night, he had not averaged more than 4.7 yards per carry. Last night, he had 9.8. He basically had a first down a touch. The last ranked running offense in the sport went for 142 yards, went off on the Steelers defense. It was Aaron Rodgers who kept the Steelers in it. It was the tight ends, Freiermuth and Johnny Smith and, Darnell Washington making plays. It was Arthur Smith. Again, to be fair, the Bengals have a bad defense, so you have to take that into account. It's not like they went off on the Broncos defense or something. Bengals can't defend that. They got a bad defense. We know this. But Aaron was moving, grooving. Even the Hail Mary late was the deepest throw any quarterback's had in 8 years. So Aaron still got the arm. I'm not going to lie. Even watching that Hail Mary late, I'm like, I think he's going to do it. Hail Marys are obviously very rare. Aaron's done them better than anybody. But just watching this all of last night, a lack of adjustments, a lack of situational awareness. I mean, I swear to God. I mean, can we show Joe Flacco's passing chart? I swear to God, it felt like Joe Flacco was going slant to Jamar Chase every third play, every second play in some cases in the second half, because they wouldn't bring more attention to that side, and they couldn't stop the run. And by the way, this being, because I've always said, the baseline of being a half-decent head coach in the NFL, what's your side of the ball? Is that side of the ball on your team good? Like I remember a couple of years ago when you had folks out there defending Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley's a defensive coach, and the Chargers defense was awful. Like, Jesse Minter fixed it in one off season. in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Mike Tomlin, defensive guru, right? Like, that's what I hear. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, most of this comes with Omar Khan as the general manager. They've given him they've given him the pieces. They've spent more money on their defense than any team in football every year since 2021. Well, can we show where the defense ranks each and every year since 2021? Not very good. 24th, 13th, 21st, 12th. This year, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the 28th ranked defense in the National Football League. They're not good. Whether that's a Tomlin problem, a Terrell Austin problem, even if it's a Terrell Austin problem, guess who hired him? Tomlin. It's a disaster. And by the way, yet another game in which Mike Tomlin cannot win when his defense gives up over 30, despite the fact that his offense scored 30. Let's go and put up this graphic. We added to it after last night. When the Steelers allowed 30 or more points of a Tomlin era, 7-43. Since Big Ben retired, 1-10. And since the first season in which the Pittsburgh Steelers have not won a playoff game in this long drought, since the 2017 playoff loss to the Blake Bortles Jags, 1-20. Win-loss record when the Pittsburgh Steelers give up 30 or more points. Just for your curiosity, in case you're wondering, that one win comes against the freaking hapless, woebegone, pathetic New York Jets. Who Justin Fields, and can we show, this is a good blind resume. Can we show Justin Fields numbers compared to a mystery quarterback? We like to do blind resumes sometimes on the show. Justin Fields, right? 3 total touchdowns, no turnovers, 266 total yards, 72% completion, 119 passer rating, QBR 0 to 100 of 76.5. Pretty darn good against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, who's mystery quarterback, you might ask? That's Justin Fields against everybody else. So 2 more touchdowns than he averages. Less turnovers. Justin Fields only has 1 turnover in the year to his credit, but almost 100 yards more, or basically 75 yards more against us than he's had against everybody else. Completion percentage up almost 10% against us than against everybody else. Passer rating up 31 freaking points against us versus everybody else. And QBR, sweet mother of 50 points higher than it is against everybody else. Joe Flacco, and I don't want to take credit from Joe. This man has been a Bengal for 10 days. He was traded there last week. And Mike Tomlin, by the way, tried to cover for himself early on, talking about, man, I can't believe the Browns traded for Joe Flacco, traded him in division to a team that needed quarterback. This is what Tomlin said if you didn't catch earlier in the week or last week what he said.
You know, to be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
Okay. It's funny he says that because now after last night, because obviously Mike Tomlin and Joe Flacco faced each other on a number of occasions, obviously with Joe Flacco as the quarterback of the Ravens back in the day, Super Bowl MVP back in 2012. On a short week, Mike Tomlin, 1-7 against Joe Flacco in his career. On a short week on Thursday Night Football on the road against divisional opponents, Mike Tomlin, 0 for 7 against division rivals on Thursday Night Football with less time to prepare. I said before the year that potentially my only saving grace, because I was, as many of y'all know, not a fan of the Aaron Rodgers signing. Thus far, it's worked out great. Like, I cannot knock Aaron whatsoever for what he's done thus far this year. I thought he was awesome last night. But I said my saving grace is maybe if this just blows up, maybe then the Steelers front office is like, you know what? The guy with the whole non-losing season streak, who, by the way, can we show what the Steelers have done in their playoff appearances in those non-losing season streaks since 2017? Down 21-0 to the Jags, 28-0 to the Browns, 35-7 to the Chiefs, 21-0 to the Bills, 21-0 to the Ravens. By the way, a team you should be quite familiar with, down 21-0 to your fiercest division rival. Maybe then front office of Pittsburgh be like, well, the old quarterback did okay. Arthur Smith, I'm not saying you should promote Arthur Smith to head coach, by the way, but Arthur Smith calls good plays. They've run the ball effectively with Jalen Warren, and the offensive line is getting better every week. Oh, wait, listen, Offense is held up their end of the bargain for the first time in years in Pittsburgh, really since the last time Prime Big Ben was there. Offense is more than held up their end of the bargain. 3 times this year, they've scored over 30. And I believe this is our second time that they've scored 30 this year. 1-1 in those games. If the defense continues to play this way, again, can we put that graphic up just one more time? A highest paid defense in the NFL since 2021, and this is where they've ranked in that span. 24th, 13th, 21st, 12th. And this year, folks, they're the 5th worst defense in the National Football League. You can blame players. Feel free. Jalen Ramsey got cooked last night. I'm going to blame the fact that they played man coverage 57% of the time. Most they have all season against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and did not go away from it. And by the way, before we get to the comments, before we go to a quick break, before we have Arthur on the show, I just want to say this too. One thing Tomlin is also not very good at, among other things, the Steelers aren't a terribly disciplined football team. And you saw this last night. I don't even care if this video doesn't even get monetized because we show this, because a lot of times we're not allowed to show footage from the games. Let's just show it. So Aaron Rodgers makes the play of the night, or his best play of the night at least, rolls to his left and throws a freaking dot to Pat Fryermuth, who takes it the distance for the go-ahead touchdown. And Aaron's like, let's go, hyped up, pumping his fist. He does the old man, kind of Super Mario Brothers celebration. And we can't even do that right. Here's Broderick Jones, who, ragdolls Aaron. That's one thing. Okay, that's fine. He celebrates, he's hyped. Aaron's, let's go, Super Mario Brothers. And Broderick Jones tackles Aaron. Oh, what are we doing? And then Aaron gets up. He's livid. And can we just do quickly? Yeah, he's pissed off. He's on the sideline. Can we do a tail of the tape real quick? Can we do Aaron Rodgers versus Broderick Jones? Because last I checked, Aaron's a quarterback. Broderick Jones is a tackle. Aaron's 3 inches shorter than Broderick Jones. Almost 100 pounds lighter. 17 years older. And one Achilles surgery on his resume. Broderick Jones, your job is to protect Aaron from hits. Listen, I've ripped Aaron over the years for his interactions with teammates, for getting on guys when they didn't deserve it. He's not taking accountability. I'm 100% team Aaron here. There's a reason quarterbacks wear a red jersey in practice. Don't touch them. That's your most valuable asset. You're cooked if you don't have them. And this guy tackles him. Like, what are we doing? If you ragged on your quarterback, that's fine. I'm not crazy about it because Aaron's 41 years old off an Achilles surgery. Fine. Oh, you tackle him to the ground, you blindsided him. You just blindsided your quarterback, brought him to the ground. You could have legit hurt Aaron Rodgers. You're almost 100 pounds heavier than him. Golly. Can't even celebrate right in Pittsburgh. It's a disaster. Listen, the Steelers season's not over. It's not a disaster. But good Lord, that was an opportunity to take a 3.5 game in the lead in the division. And there's no other way to say it other than the fact that Pittsburgh Steelers blew it. But Aaron Rodgers, and again, to his credit, thus far, Steelers hit adversity. He's been good with the media. This is what he said after the game.
Listen, we want to win every game. There needs to be an expectation of winning, but this is a short week, division opponent. Anything can happen. Obviously, Joe played really well for them, and Chase and T got going for him. But this is the NFL. We had a chance to really open up some space, but we're 4-2, still first in the division. Got a couple, home games coming up, back-to-back, another Sunday night opportunity against my former team. So I'm not going to ride the roller coaster, and I know Mike isn't, and hopefully you guys follow suit.
Listen, I'm glad Aaron's not riding the roller coaster, right? And I hope that is the case. But I am, because I've seen this story plays itself out. Let's look at the comments real quick, and then we'll go to break. Beast Mode 56 looks like they're a Vikings fan. Joe Flacco balled out yesterday, but Joe Flacco got the best receivers in the league, so it was set up. It was set up for him to have success when he was in the Cleveland Browns. Receivers don't hold a candle to the Bengals. That's true, and Flacco kind of said after, or I think he told Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, like, man, you think they're good, and then you practice them, like, oh my gosh, these guys are amazing. So that's fair. He's obviously worked with a better supporting cast than what he had in Cleveland. John Green, 31-26. Yet the Steelers could have had a similar duo had they not given up Pickens for us, brilliant move. Listen, I've defended that move, and Pickens is balling out in Dallas. I've always said, like, let's just wait. Let's see how it plays itself out. He's behaved himself pretty well in Dallas outside of the Chicago game, but we're due for a George Pickens crash out any moment now. So and, him losing targets because of DK Metcalf and because of a tight ends, that would not have worked. And to be fair, finding receivers is the easiest thing to do in the draft. Patrick Brown, my guy. It's time to cut bait with Mike Tomlin, Doc Rivers. Same guy. Both have won their titles in 2008, made another appearance in 2010, and little to be desired. Only difference is teams have actually had the foresight to fire Doc Rivers. How he keeps getting jobs is beyond me. Beast mode. Mike Tomlin, I don't think he's going to win another Super Bowl as a Steeler. You think? I think he should retire sometime. The Hall of Fame coach doesn't know when it's over with. Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Mike Zimmer, Nick Saban. I wouldn't put Mike Zimmer quite in that class. But, yeah, to be fair, it's the game's passed him by. I mean, the Steelers' defensive concept is unbelievably outdated. And last comment, we'll go to break. Patrick, Cincinnati saved their season with this game. We know what two defenses Chase and Higgins like to play against: Ravens and Steelers. Flacco looks like prime Ravens blast from pass. I felt like the Steelers were the 2012 Broncos defense. Remember when Flacco hits, God rest his soul, the late great Jacoby Jones for the tying touchdown, and Tucker ends up winning the game in double overtime? That's what I felt like was happening. Except in this case, Joe Flacco's 40. So, if you NFL fans out there that were neutral in this matchup, the Unk Bowl certainly delivered. There's no question about it. All right, I'm going to try and cool down here. I'm going to do my best. But after the break, take a 1-minute break. My buddy Arthur Hurst, my co-host from the Saturday Morning Tailgate, as well as the defending champion from last season of the 8 o'clock spot, will be stopping by in just 1 minute here on Carving Up Live to talk about college football. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Thanks to everybody for stopping by on this Friday. Getting a lot of engagement on the show, so love to see it. Chime in, IG, Facebook, X, YouTube, the whole bit. Very, very excited to have everybody in, and very excited to have my next guest on. This is, I think, his second time on the show. I could be wrong about this. But Arthur Hurst, he is my co-host on the Saturday Morning Tailgate podcast, which we obviously are airing a new episode tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time, live here on the Grid Network's YouTube channel and on X. Would you please welcome my good friend, Arthur Hurst, who is joining Carving Up Live. Might as well get the headphones on so I can hear you, Arthur. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Bryson? How we doing, man?
I'm doing good. It was nice to have, obviously, excuse me, our buddy Tim Barnard on the show last night, now having you on the show. So first of all, you're a Ravens fan, so it's not like your life is going much better with the way your team's playing right now. They're on a bye week. We'll see how if Lamar Jackson is able to come back. Before we move to college football, am I wrong on anything I've said about Pittsburgh and about Mike Tomlin? Like, do you have any dissenting opinion here?
It's just very unfortunate how it's the same way. I mean, Patrick said it best, right? When you look at the career trajectory of Mike Tomlin and Doc Rivers, they are both very similar. Both of them coached very stacked teams that won titles. And then ever since then, they haven't done much of anything. In Mike Tomlin's case, though, well, not even. In both of their cases, Mike Tomlin has always had stacked defenses, right? And your offense, I mean, look, your defense takes care of business, right? Your offense, Big Ben got old, right? And
I think Arthur's
their situations. Then you – we good?
Yeah, we got you. We got you.
And then you flip, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell with James Conner, Najee Harris, Juju Smith-Schuster. Who was your other receiver that y'all let go?
Chase Claypool, yeah.
Chase Claypool. Bro,
yeah.
Where is he?
I don't know if he's in the league today. Yeah.
So like your offense has gone a lot. Right. But your defense has always stayed consistent. Same thing with Doc Rivers. Right. He's had consistently great rosters, just not able to get it done. Most 3-1 leads blown in NBA history. So it's like, what's the problem? You have the roster. You're supposed to be this all-time great coach, Hall of Fame one day. but you just can't seem to get it done for whatever reason ever since 2008. But yeah, it's just very unfortunate. And then you have a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I mean, remember I said this during the summer when the signing happened. I said, listen, everybody's talking about, expectations for the Steelers. Just win a playoff game. Get to the playoffs, win a playoff game. Then we can talk about Super Bowl aspirations. But you're trying to put all this pressure on a 41-year-old quarterback who, for the last few years, if we're being honest, didn't look much like his prime. This year he's played really good. Right, DK Metcalf is balling. The offense seems to be really rolling. Last night they seemed to get going, and then you talk about Young Jones doing what he did. I mean, listen, man, 24 years old, just like you said, a lack of discipline, lack of awareness. Right, again, this is a 41-year-old quarterback that you're worried about, but it all comes back to Tomlin, right? And so when it sits at your feet as the head coach, again, you're supposed to be the guy that's still trying to bring in the old traditions of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're not seeing it, though. We haven't seen it with rings again since 2008, and we're not seeing it with playoff wins. I don't know what's going on, man. And it's very unfortunate because he is a Hall of Fame coach. He's an all-time great, but I just don't know, man. It's just very unfortunate to see.
Honestly, I think both of our teams have kind of run their course with their current coaches, Arthur. I'm not going to lie. They've been there a long time. Both have won a Super Bowl. Both, gone to multiple conference championship games, but I feel like it's kind of, run the course. So on college football, I feel like, and we're going to lead, Saturday morning tailgate off with this tomorrow, but biggest news of the week, James Franklin was fired after his third straight loss with Penn State to Northwestern. You're a big Buckeyes fan, and, your former DC, Jim Knowles, is taking over as the new interim head coach. We'll see how he does. Buckeyes and Nittany Lions play, I think, 2 weeks or so that should be interesting to see how it plays out. But just going to the graphic right now, James Franklin can never win the big one, right? 4-21 against top 10 teams, 1-15 against top 5 teams, 1-18, Arthur, against top 5, Big Ten teams. Your reaction to this news? Were you surprised when this, went down? Third straight loss. Oregon's one thing, then then UCLA, then Northwestern. Kind of inevitable.
I'm pretty sure. No, we haven't talked about it. Dabo Swinney. No, I did say this. Dabo Swinney and James Franklin the last few years have had very similar careers. We've had really good teams. We've had chances and opportunities to win, but we did not win. Dabo Swinney, though, was able to carry out his big stick until the university fired me. All I've done is win. So go ahead, fire me. The university, he called the university's bluff, right? Rightfully so. But the university needs to go to Dabo and say, okay, then win. It's that simple. James Franklin doesn't have that opportunity. He can't say, oh, I've won. You haven't. So there's no big stick for you to carry. It is unfortunate that he got fired. I was hoping that if he did get fired, they let him play out the rest of the season, right? But this was inevitable because, again, those big-time games matter. And he's been able to recruit very well at every position except the quarterback position. Trace McSorley wasn't bad in college. He wasn't bad, but he's not his counterparts in the Big Ten of Ohio State, right, of the Michigan Wolverines. He's not the counterpart of the SEC schools, right? And then Drew Aller, dog, he definitely isn't, right? And so I don't know why that important position, that position that really holds everything together, one of the most important positions in sports, how do you not recruit great at that? That's supposed to be your ultimate leader, the guy who helps you, who you look at to win the games, right? How do you not recruit at that? You've got running back, Saquon Barkley, defense, Micah Parsons, wide receiver, Han Dotson. So you can recruit, but it's that quarterback position that you just can't get it done. And that, again, like that falls back on you. So
that's part of the job description, no question. And there's been a number of potential candidates that's been floated. Listen, I think Penn State is a good job. It's an upper, echelon Big Ten school. The Nick Saban suggestion I don't buy at all. Do I think Nick Saban, would be down to come back to coaching? Yeah, I actually do. Like, I think he mostly left Alabama just because, we kind of talked about this in the show, like NIL was, and transfer portal, the sport was changing. And he said, I don't necessarily want to evolve with it. Fine, like respect. Dabo Swinney, I wish would make a similar decision. So I don't know if Saban would necessarily take a job immediately in college football. There's been other names though, like Urban Meyer suggested. Kurt Cignetti was someone suggested. That is until he signed obviously his big extension at Indiana. The Hoosiers not going to let him go anywhere, and understandably so. Is there any potential names? Do you think Urban Meyer, former national championship head coach with your Buckeyes and with Tim's Florida Gators, do you think that's something Urban would consider? Because obviously I know health problems has been a concern of his in years past.
No. Urban and Nick need to just stay on TV, to be completely honest with you. I'm enjoying it. I really am, and they seem to be enjoying it as well. This climate is different, right? This is different, man. And if you're an old coach, I doubt that you want to deal with it, right? Again, we talked about Nick Saban not wanting to deal with it, not because of the money and stuff, but just because, dude, how are you going to come into my home, eat Miss Terry's cooking, and tell me that you're not coming here and get paid this much? Same thing with Urban Meyer. Dog, do you know who I am? I coached easily one of the most ridiculous, most personality-filled teams in college football history with one of the greatest quarterbacks in college football history. Don't try to come to me and tell me you're not doing whatever for if not getting this amount of money. Get out of my house. I don't want you. So, no, Urban Meyer and Nick Saban need to just stay on television. Who to replace with James Franklin with? I don't know. I mean, Jim knows, sure, but I'm not even going to lie, man. There are very few really, really good defensive coaches who have been successful as head coaches. I still don't understand this thing of having your defensive coach be your head coach. I still don't get it. I don't know if I'm missing something on football or whatever, but not everybody is Bill Belichick. Not everybody's Tony Dungy, Billy Barcells, all these. There's not a lot of them. They're once in a generation. So why do we keep giving defensive head coaches chances as head coaches? Not just in college football, but the pros as well. It blows my freaking mind. But
well, how about this one? How about I suggest an offensive coach? What about Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills? Now, remember, he was with LSU, helped Joe Burrow have maybe the greatest year any college quarterback's ever had back in 2019. Like, I think you talk about offensive coaches, that's someone, and by the way, that could be really enticing in recruiting for some of these young 5-star quarterbacks to come to Penn State.
Yes, exactly. Again, hey, Joe Burrow, look at my resume. We have arguably one of the greatest teams to ever win. Look at my resume. Go look at what I've done with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So again, when the resume speaks for itself, there's not a lot that needs to be said. Do you want to be coached by me or not? I give results. I give winning. Do you want to win? Do you want to be successful? Do you want to be great in the pros? Do you want to be great in college? Do you want to leave a legacy? Okay, then come play for me, right? And then that's when you talk about being able to do that, then you can talk about them being in the conversations with Ohio State. Bryce Underwood, Michigan is only going to get better. Indiana is not looking like a fluke at all. Nope. They are here, right? That's not just a basketball school anymore. Indiana football is here. So you look at them, they're going to be rising. I wouldn't be mad at Joe Brady being the coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Let me transition, to your Buckeyes. Big game against Wisconsin this weekend. As it looks today, it doesn't look like Ohio State is really going to be tested until Michigan, in the game. You look at the rest of the season, I guess UCLA maybe. I guess with Newhouse, he's done a good job with Nico, but I don't really see that being a contest in the horseshoe. But it's Wisconsin, Penn State, Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and then you finish at Michigan, which obviously Ohio State is yet to beat Michigan in the 2020s decade. Thoughts thus far? I know you've been big on Julian Sayin, the young quarterback, opportunity to try and go back-to-back with him. Jeremiah Smith is a generational talent at wide receiver. We know how good the defense is. Do you want to see Ryan Day? Because this has kind of been the discussion the last few weeks. Do you want to see Ryan Day kind of open it more for Julian Sayin, or kind of save it in the back pocket until we get to the game against Michigan? Or do you want to kind of see that open up now, maybe as soon as tomorrow against Wisconsin?
You need to let his confidence build. Right now, you've got conference play the rest of the season. And so this is how you let the conference know we are at the top. Yes, we're undefeated. Yes, we've been kicking, but this is how you, again, just separate the trash from the good from the elite. We are the elite. None of you guys are on our level, right? And I'm not, man, listen, I was hoping we would get to play Oregon again in the regular season this year. I just wanted to see, both of those Giants go at it again. Yeah. But the schedule has been pretty soft. I'm not going to lie, it's been pretty soft. So they've gotten their wins, they're stacking up their wins. But again, it all comes down to that Michigan game. It all comes down to that Michigan game. It comes down to coaching, most importantly. Forget Julian Sayin in his quarterback play. Forget what the rest of the team does. Is Ryan Day going to let it go? Because I talked about it on the Buckeyes Breakfast the last few weeks. Do not play conservative in the first half. Just let him do what he does. Where you keep waiting to the second half to just get this offense going. We know everybody's focused on Jeremiah Smith. Okay, let him take Cook. Let Brandon Ennis cook. Let these running backs continue to do what they're doing and help the offense get downfield. But you're doing what Stefanski is doing to Arch. Now, Arch Manning doesn't have.
You mean Sark?
Sark, yeah. You're doing what he's doing to Arch Manning. Now, Arch Manning doesn't have the offensive weapons at all, right? And he hasn't looked like Julian Sayin at all this year. But there are conversations like, okay, is the offensive playbook being held back? Is Arch Manning being held back and not able to show his full potential? Let Julian Sayin from the first snap show these people what he can do. Because then, and not only that, bro, but I say this a lot. At some point in time, I would like to see Julian use his legs a little bit more. Because then you're talking about being able to free up Jeremiah. The reason why Jeremiah has been getting triple teamed and double teamed and all that stuff is because they know that Ohio State hasn't had a running quarterback. He didn't really have a running quarterback with Will Howard. He could run, but not as like past Ohio State quarterbacks. Julian Sayin doesn't run at all, right? Unless the pressure's coming and he has to just escape from the pocket. But even then, he's looking to extend the play. I'm not mad at it. But if you're talking about trying to open up the field a lot more for your wide receivers to be able to go to work, man, if you don't use your legs and make this defense have to commit, because the offensive line is holding. They are showing that they can protect, right? You're barely touching the ground in all of these games. So use your legs, get out of bounds, make the defense come down, and let Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate be able to go one-on-one with their matchups. But I'm not mad at all with how Ohio State has played. The defense, outstanding. Matt Patricia, he surprisingly blitzed a few times this past weekend. I was surprised. I'm like, dude, you don't do that. So I love to see it. But what I don't love to see, and it's the same thing that we did last year with the zone defense, our offense is continuing to be able to find those soft spots, whether it's under or over. And then I have to rely on my goal line defense, which again has been phenomenal this season. So I got to give
last year too, yeah.
So, but when playoff time comes, are we going to be able to keep that same energy to not let anybody get in this zone? We're not going to let you be able to run the ball efficiently. When you get down to 10 yards less, we're not going to let you be able to throw the ball. So Ohio State, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot of great things. The things that I would love to see them just improve on, like their zone defense, like letting Julian Sayin just go ahead and just ball from the first possession of the first quarter. Those things I'm sure will continue to expand and grow on throughout the season, because when coming playoff time, again, you're the national champions. You're the reigning national champions. Everybody is going to be coming to take that freaking crown from you. And if those things aren't sharp, right? If your zone isn't sharp, if Julian Sayin isn't sharp from that first possession, these guys are going to look to take your lunch money, because everybody's looking to punch you in your mouth. Everybody's looking to punch you in your mouth. So if you can take the punch and give a lot of punches back, this team is going to be fine.
Listen, we could talk about a number of matchups in college football this weekend. We could talk about Ole Miss and Georgia. We could talk about Notre Dame and USC, Vanderbilt, LSU tomorrow. And I know you and Tim are much bigger Diego Pavia fans than I am. But regardless, we got a whole show tomorrow to talk about those things. But Arthur Hurst, you're on Carving It Up right now, so we're going to talk about Tennessee and Alabama. And listen, there is obviously no bigger fan of Joey Aguilar at the Grid Network than yours truly. However, I would argue you're probably number two. You like Joey Aguilar. You've been praiseworthy of this Tennessee offense. I'll talk more about the game on the Vol View in about 10 minutes or so, and obviously we'll talk about it tomorrow. Don't make your pick yet, because we want to save that for the show. But what are you expecting to see tomorrow, third Saturday in October? Because I'm thinking we can see I think that scoreboard's going to get some work tomorrow.
Which is very surprising, because I've said it a few times. I don't believe Alabama's lore is back, but they are showing extreme confidence right? The fans look more engaged. Kellen DeBoer is, I'm sure, not shitting his pants anymore every single weekend, right? This team looks like they've come together a lot more. Like those losses, they've truly learned from. And now we're growing. And now we can really mature as a team under this head coach. Again, DeBoer didn't have to take the job, but he had to take the job. I got to listen. I was doing what I did at Washington, but I got to prove to everybody I can really coach. And what better way can I prove that I can really coach than to be the successor to the greatest college football coach of all time, of the Alabama Crimson Tide. So, but Joey Aguilar, man, listen, go back to a few weeks ago playing against the Georgia Bulldogs. I thought it was over. I'm like, oh, dang, 14-14. They're going in a half up big on the Georgia Bulldogs. It's looking bad for Kirby Smart. But then he looks human. And I'm like, dude, you were making those throws in the first half. What, you're throwing over guys now? You're throwing in front, behind. Now all of a sudden you look spooked. You can't look spooked against Alabama. Again, it's all about being the shark and smelling blood in the water. I can't have you play in the first half the way you did, going 100% on throws and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you just come back down to earth. When it comes to the big dogs, you got to play well against the big dogs. And even though Alabama hasn't looked like a big dog, especially under DeBoer for the last year and a half, they look like they're starting to find their mojo. You got to kill it. You got to kill their mojo, dude. It's all up to you as the leader. Again, the leader of this team, the position, one of the most important positions in sports. Are you going to play well? Because Simpson's playing well. Ty Simpson's balling. Okay, he's definitely a Heisman favorite candidate. Are you going to be able to match his energy? Ryan Williams is playing well. Bernard is playing well. The running back room is playing well. They're all playing composed. Again, Alabama's looking like they're starting to find their groove. Are you going to be able to calm the noise and say, no, that's not going to happen against me and my team? Or are you going to fold like you did against Georgia? Because then you could have, if you beat Alabama, then I'm definitely looking at that Georgia game like, so what the heck happened here? So is that more about Georgia, or is that more about you just, for some reason, again, coming back down to earth after having a hell of a first half against Kirby Smart and his Bulldogs?
Well, I think we're going to learn a lot about Georgia tomorrow, the matchup against Ole Miss. I'm very, very excited to see that game. But yeah, I mean, to your point, like, you know, of all the knocks, of all the knocks on Kalen DeBoer, he has not lost a home game thus far as the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. All of his losses, there's the one bowl loss last year to Michigan. All of his losses come on the road to Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Florida State. So that concerns me a little bit. But yeah, if there's anybody that's got the poise, the moxie to pull it off to give Tennessee their first win in Tuscaloosa since I was 4 months old, Arthur, I think it just might be, Joey Aguilar. So I'm very excited for the game tomorrow. Before we get out of here, Arthur, tell everybody where you can find the, our show tomorrow, the Saturday Morning Tailgate, and tell people what to expect.
Man, YouTube, Instagram, X, just come and enjoy a lot of good fun. Tomorrow's going to be fun, man. It's a Saturday, right? I can't wait either. Ohio State plays at 3:30. So I'm excited about that. I'm glad I don't have to rush out of here and have to go somewhere to watch the game. I got a few good hours that I can chill, wind down, watch some college football till 3:30, and I can go watch the Buckeyes kick butt, man.
Man, listen, noon games are for the birds. I hate noon games. I don't know why. I don't vibe with noon games. I never have. 3:30, 7:30.
I'm not mad at new games because it's right after college game day. So I'm hyped.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I guess I'm talking for my team is what I'm saying. Yeah.
I get it though. I definitely
like do. It's like the appetizer. It's a nice warm up, right? Like that's what it is. All right, Arthur Hurst, myself, Tim Barnard tomorrow at the Saturday Morning Tailgate, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time. By the way, Arthur, the defending champion of the 8 o'clock spot, just to give you love on the show, let everybody know that you hold the belt today. So kudos to you for that, Arthur Hurst. Great stuff. See you tomorrow, my man.
Yes, sir. See you later, boy.
Arthur Hurst, great stuff as always. Yeah, listen, he makes a lot of great points about, Alabama and the fact that, Ty Simpson's gotten, we'll talk about this. I'll take my headphones off. We'll talk about this in the Vol View, but Ty Simpson has 16 touchdowns, 1 pick. Like the guy's been balling. He was awesome against Georgia. They've got a real legit, 1-2 punch at wide receiver. Again, we'll touch on some of this in the Vol View. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous for Tennessee, Bama tomorrow. But good stuff from Arthur as always. Real quick, a little bit of an awkward transition, but nonetheless, Sometimes we do that in the show. Here's something I wanted to touch on super quickly because I found it absurd and it has nothing to do with sports. Occasionally we'll cover some stuff on this show if I find it relevant enough, if it's in the topic of conversation nationally. So interestingly enough, and I believe this was leaked by Politico magazine, if I'm not mistaken. But there's leaked chats show that young Republican groups throughout the country are worried what would happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked, but they kept typing anyway. And what you've seen is everything in the book. Racism, sexism, homophobia, jokes about the 4-letter R word that I will not say in the show for fear of being demonetized. It's bad. So here's what I'm going to say about this real quick. So first of all, by no means am I doing this segment to be like, oh, okay, yep, all Republicans are. I've got friends who are conservative. I've got friends who voted for Trump. The ones that I'm friends with are not this, are not racist, don't joke about the kind of things that these kids are joking, not even kids, more on that in a second, but joking about the kind of stuff these people are joking about. Not anti-Semitic, the whole bit. What I found really interesting is the inconsistency from our leaders on this. Is that, anytime somebody on the left does something crazy, which happens often, by the way, all of a sudden that represents the entire party. That is a advertisement for who the Democrats or the left or whoever. That's who they're. Liberals. Some of the right does some crazy. Yeah, you know what, man? Just bad apples. This is kind of immature. Our vice president, JD Vance, went on I believe it was a podcast the other day, and said that grow up. I always tell my boys, don't be careful about social media. Don't put stuff out because everything gets broadcast to the internet. I'm like, okay, if you got to worry about, not saying JD's kids necessarily, but if you got to worry about your kids, if you're trying to tell, hey, kids, you can have those beliefs, just don't put them on the internet so people can see it. Again, said to grow up. Matter of fact, one of the leaders, I believe it was the late Charlie Kirk's producer from Turning Point USA, in a debate with Adam Mockler the other day on News Nation, Stephen A. Smith, Bill O'Reilly, Chris Cuomo. I think it was called the Three American Store. They had politicians on there. And Adam Mockler held the guy's feet to the fire, said, well, you do condemn these texts, correct? And the guy just wouldn't budge. Here's what I would say. This isn't even a long segment. I just wanted to get this out there. If you don't like being called racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, adamantly call out people that are. Because if you don't, then that makes people raise questions. I mean, it's kind of, it's not difficult to call it bad human behavior. I mean, it's if I did, I talked about, I'm not trying to say this, act like I'm like noble or something, because I thought I did the bare minimum. But when Charlie Kirk, who I'll said then, I'll say now a million times, I disagree with almost everything that man ever said. Strongly. It was the bare minimum for me to come on my show and say, this is horrifying what happened to him. And whoever did this should face justice in every sense of the word. Anyone who didn't do that, I mean, I guess there were some on the fringes that were like, good. They're idiots. Anyone who celebrates death of any sort you cannot have an honest, good faith conversation with that person. But those who did not, to me, do the bare minimum and condemn the act of violence and be horrified the fact that a man speaking his beliefs was shot dead in broad daylight in Utah, makes you ask questions about people. Well, the same can be said if you fail to condemn And he kept saying kids, all these JD Vance, all these kids. I think their ages range from like 24 to 40. They're not kids. I'm 22. I don't consider myself a kid. Every single one of these men are older than me. They're not kids. They're racists. They're homophobic. They're misogynist. They're anti-Semitic. All of the all the bad things that any decent person tries not to be. They're it, based on what these text messages show. So, and listen, Democrats got themselves into a really bad spot over time for calling virtually every Republican nominee racist. George W. Bush is not a racist. That's an idiotic take. John McCain. I think John McCain adopted a black kid. Like, John McCain was not racist. John McCain had flaws in policy beliefs that I firmly disagree with. Not a racist. Mitt Romney. Remember, people lost their minds. I have binders full of women at that 2012 debate. People lost their minds. He's sexist. He hates women. No, it was a slip up. So that when an actual racist comes around in 2016, 2020, 2024 and runs with in 2024, a guy who, let's just say, refuses to call out abhorrent behavior because they agree with his politics or he agrees with theirs one way or the other, then it gives boy that cried wolf vibes. Then it's, well, you said Bush was, you said McCain and Romney, you said they were racist. This guy isn't. So they've dug themselves that hole. That's where, Democrats have fallen short in that regard. But I don't know. Don't be offended when people label you something when you refuse to call said something out. When the fringes on the left said some pretty horrifying things after Charlie Kirk was murdered and you called for their jobs, do the same for your people on the right. That's all I got to say. If you are tired of being called a certain thing, when there's an opportunity for you to call somebody out that exhibited said behavior, it's not hard. Do it. Otherwise, people are going to assume, understandably so, well, they didn't call it out. Matter of fact, in some ways, they actually defended it. Maybe they kind of agree with that person. So there you go. All right, go to break. I just wanted to discuss that because I found it pretty disgusting. Not surprising. From this administration, not surprising at all. But still disgusting. Take a 1-minute break. Come back with the Vol View, and I'm hyped for this episode of the Vol View. I can't wait. Come back after a 1-minute break on Carving It Up Live. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Thanks to everybody for stopping by on this Friday. All right, the Vol View's back, and this is the biggest segment we've done on this all year. I am, I'll get into it as the segment goes. I don't want to spoil too much, but every Friday we do it, talk about Tennessee. Very excited to do so again. So, without further ado, the Vol View starts right now.
time in Tennessee.
Oh, indeed it is. And in fact, it's not just football time in Tennessee or football time, I guess, in Alabama in this case, but it is, without question, one of the most iconic rivalries in all of college football. The third Saturday in October. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. So here's the thing. Tennessee, Alabama, tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific time, ABC. Cannot wait to watch it. So I'll admit, earlier in the week, because obviously Tennessee beats Arkansas, last week, 34-31. I was less than enthused with how the game played out. Not offensively. Joey Aguilar did his thing. Deshaun Bishop, thank God he's okay, by the way, got hurt late. Looks like he's going to be fine for this one. They were great. Braylon Staley stepped up. Mike Matthews, Kitzelman. They double-teamed Brazel the whole game. They're like, Chris Brazel's not beating us. Did Arkansas do? It was the fact that Tennessee defense just kept letting Arkansas back in the game to the point where it ends up being closer than it probably should have been. And Heupel's clock management left some things to be desired as well. So coming into this week, I'm thinking, man, Alabama's playing great football. Since that loss to Florida State, Ty Simpson's been phenomenal. Again, 16 touchdowns, 1 pick. You've got a true, legit, great wide receiving duo in Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams, who can beat you over the top. And facing a Tennessee secondary that's without not just their top corner, but their top 2 corners, Ricky Gibson III and Jermon McCoy. Not ideal. Not great. This is going to have to be a track meet for Tennessee. But then I saw this graphic. I saw a graphic, so I made it into a graphic here for Carving It Up Live. Let's go and show this. Is that Tennessee has indisputably, not even close, the best offense in the SEC and probably the best offense in college football. Joey Aguilar leads the SEC in passing. Deshaun Bishop, 5th in the SEC in rushing. Chris Brazel, 2nd in the conference in receiving. Braylon Staley, 5th in the conference in receiving. Mike Matthews, 7th in the conference in receiving yards. So all 3 of these guys, the Vols offense has been cooking. All 3 of these guys have been absolutely fantastic. You're talking about this tempo offense that Tennessee's famous for, running the football effectively with a 3-handed monster running back. You can use Star Thomas, obviously, as kind of like a change of pace kind of back. You can throw him a screen pass. You can do all these things. Deshaun Bishop's your number 1, but you can use Star Thomas as well. This is going to be a track meet, and it's going to have to be for Tennessee to win this game. Now, the good news is Alabama's defense has at times given up, big plays in the running game. So I feel like this is going to have to be a Joey Aguilar game. Yes, Chris Brazel's going to have to step up, but it's got to be a lot of Deshaun Bishop. It's got to be a lot of Star Thomas. It's got to be a lot about getting the ball in these guys' hands behind this offensive line for Tennessee. I think David Sanders might be used in some jumbo formations. Get an eligible receiver in, which in the case of David Sanders, right tackle, freshman, 5-star recruit. Put him in different short yardage opportunities. Tennessee is not going to play keep away. They're not going to play bleed the clock, right? Because that goes against everything that Josh Heupel has worked into building at Tennessee. It is quick. It is up-tempo. It is the quickest or the shortest time distance between plays in all of college football to the Tennessee Volunteers have. I mean, year after year with Josh Heupel, they either lead college football, they're top 5 in that category. That's what they do. So don't get out of what's made you great. If Tennessee is able to run the football effectively with Deshaun Bishop, again, 5th in the SEC in rushing, change of pace, Star Thomas, then the deep ball's there. And need I remind you, Joey Aguilar, when you talk about guys like Joe Milton, 2023, completion percentage hovered around 30% on throws of 20 or more yards down the field. The same can be said last year about Nico Iamaleava. This year, Joey Aguilar, over 50%. He is the best deep ball thrower that Josh Heupel has had outside of Hendon Hooker. I would almost argue he's as good of a deep ball thrower as Hendon Hooker was back in 2021 and 2022 with the Tennessee Volunteers. And you've got your weapons. Chris Brazel's going to have to get involved. What Alabama is going to do to try and I don't, maybe they'll try and bracket Chris Brazel. I don't know if that's going to work, but if you can be able to run the ball effectively, get in 2nd and 5, get in 3rd and short situations, worst case, be able to convert on 4th down, be aggressive on 4th down, which Josh Heupel has shown a tendency to be. Sometimes over-aggressive, but he's not going to play it conservative. He's going to go for it on 4th down. Play action, Aguilar hits the long ball. Then Alabama is playing catch-up. I think this is going to be a track meet of a game. Not to the level that it was in 2022 when Tennessee finally broke the long 15-game losing streak, winning 52-49 on a walk-off field goal by Chase McGrath at the gun. But you're going to see a lot of points. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go so far as to say both teams will score into the 40s. It is going to be an up and down, back and forth. It will be very similar to Tennessee-Georgia, right? I think Georgia won that one 44-41. Very, very similar in that regard. A lot of touchdowns, maybe a couple of defensive touchdowns. Going to be a wild, almost like circa 2015 Big 12 type of game. That's where you're going to see. Both defenses cannot stop the opposing offense. Bama cannot stop a Vols offense that's averaging, 48 points a game. Leads college football. On the other hand, other side of that coin is Tennessee can't stop an Alabama team, given the fact that Tennessee this year has given up, on average, 29 points per game. Not ideal. Not ideal. Kind of similar to my Steelers, unfortunately, in the fact that it's sacks and turnovers. That's what saves this team on a consistent basis. Joshua Joseph's lead passer is going to have to make plays. Colton Hood, Arian Carter, who's a captain tomorrow, they're all going to have to make plays. But in the end, when it's all said and done, what we are going to have is a tie game at 42 with about 2 minutes and change to go in the game. Joey Aguilar is going to have the football in his hands. Keep in mind, again, Tennessee has not beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa, third Saturday in October, since I was 4 months old, since 2003. It's been a while. And Joey Aguilar will get the ball in his hands. Tie game, 42 all. Both quarterbacks, Aguilar, Ty Simpson, will more than make their Heisman case. Obviously, the winner will get a bigger boost after tomorrow night. Aguilar drives Tennessee down the field. I think Chris Brazel makes a big, 20-yard catch to get them in the field goal range. And sports is funny sometimes, man. You screw up early on. It's a long season. Eventually, you get an opportunity to redeem yourself. And Max Gilbert, there's no other way to say this. I don't want to sound harsh here because he's a college kicker, not a pro kicker. He blew it against Georgia. He did. You make one kick, Tennessee wins the game. Those guys fought their you-know-what's-off for 3.5 hours with Georgia and trying to break the 9-game winning streak, or losing streak, rather. The fans are going crazy, yada, yada, yada. Make a kick, you win the game. And he missed it. Went to overtime, Tennessee lost. He's going to get his opportunity for redemption against Alabama. And similar to how Chase McGrath did in 2022 to break the streak, to break the overall losing streak to Alabama, Max Gilbert will hit the walk-off field goal at the buzzer, triple zeros, and end the losing streak of Tennessee, losing in Tuscaloosa. Give me the big orange, baby. Obviously, plus 7.5 to win outright. Walk-off field goal, shootout, down to the wire, 45-42, Vols over the Tide. Let's go. Hand Alabama their first SEC loss, put Tennessee firmly in the discussion, in the chase, to go to their first SEC championship game since 2007. I've said this multiple times since the loss to Georgia. The 3 toughest games the rest of the year for Tennessee: Bama, Oklahoma, and Florida. Vanderbilt is not as tough as Florida. Winning in the Swamp is harder than beating Vanderbilt at home. I don't care what anybody says. If Tennessee, if they win out, I think they get in the SEC championship game. If they go 2-1 in those games, take care of the other teams they're supposed to take care of, your Kentuckys, your New Mexico States, your Vanderbilt of the world, win the games that you're supposed to, go to at least 2-1 those spots, stamp your ticket to a second straight college football playoff because you're going. That resume will get you in. Well, in that 3-game stretch, I think it's a 1-0 start. Vols, baby, once again, 45-42. Get those cigars out tomorrow night. Enjoy them with your loved ones. And by the way, just a word for you Alabama fans. Dixieland Delight is about Tennessee, not Bama. Just because the song is by the band Alabama does not mean it's about Alabama. By definition, by that logic, every song Alabama made is about Alabama. What are we talking about here? So, it literally mentions Tennessee multiple times in the song. What are we talking about here? It's our song. We're playing it tomorrow night. We're smoking them cigars. Tennessee 45, Tide 42. And that is it for this fired up edition, third Saturday in October edition of The Vol View.
It's football time in Tennessee.
And by the way, the voice you just heard there, the late, great John Ward, who was the voice of the Vols for decades, all the way up to 1998 when Tennessee won the very first BCS national championship game. John Ward has, and I wish we could play on this show, had the rights to show it, but one of the most iconic plays in recent Tennessee history, and I would argue one of John Ward's top 3 calls. Tennessee had, I forget what the number was, but they had a long losing streak to Alabama. Peyton Manning was the quarterback. This was, oh my gosh, this would have been 1994, I think. It was 1994 or 1995. It's one of the two, because Manning was there from 94 to 97. I forget which year it was. And it was in Tuscaloosa too. First play from scrimmage. Peyton Manning, bomb to Joey Kent, takes it to the house. And the call by John Ward, any Tennessee fan will tell you, it gives you chills. Just the ball, the 35 to the 40 to the 45. And then eventually he scores. He goes, what did he do? All he did was score. Joey Kent, touchdown on play number 1. Oh, it's a great call. It really is. If you've never heard it, listen to it, just check it out. Especially if you're a Vols fan. I can't, how have you not heard that one? So there you go. All right, gonna take a 1-minute break. But when we come back, NFL Week 7 predictions, including Upset of the Week, 4-game winning streak for your boy on Upset of the Week. Very excited to give you mine this week. I feel very confident in it. Talk about all of that in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Do not go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back in just 1 minute. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Before I get to NFL predictions, just quickly, so I missed last Wednesday's show because I wasn't, feeling the best. But I did see this story get some traction, and we've got a new update on this story. And it's on the eve, not the eve, but a few days away from the start of the 2025-26 NBA season, which I can't freaking wait for. I think my Warriors are poised to go on a deep run this year, long as Steph's healthy. That's a big thing. Steph Curry's got to be healthy. But if he's healthy, this is the best roster he's had since Kevin Durant left. There's no questions about it. But this doesn't have to do with the Warriors. It has to do with the Lakers. It has to do with LeBron James. So a man by the name of Andrew Garcia is suing LeBron, or suing the Lakers, I don't know which, to get his money back because he, along with, I guess, the idiots of the internet, were fooled into thinking that LeBron James was going to make a retirement announcement a few days away from the start of the season. And in reality, the decision part 2 is how he advertised it. And it turns out to be a Hennessy commercial. Well, Andrew Garcia is suing LeBron because he spent $865.66, to be exact, on tickets to the Lakers' final home game of the season. I believe it's against the Utah Jazz, because he was fooled into thinking this was going to be LeBron's last home game in the regular season of his career. And for his own money that he spent, he's suing LeBron James. And his quote about this is, he says, quote, "I am only suing to recover what I paid. I want to make that very clear," which is $865.66. He, talking about LeBron, he should know, or should have known, that this was going to happen. I'm not seeking any sort of emotional relief or any additional relief beyond what I paid. You know what this is? We've all known that one person, goes on a date with a girl. I'm talking to heterosexual guys right now. Goes on a date with a girl, goes on another date with a girl, and he's just convinced. Like, this is the one. I found her. We're getting married next year. And then as a result, because he's so convinced, he gets her initials or her full name tattooed on his arm or something. And they break up in 3 months, and he has to get some ink to cover it up. It's that. It's the guy who is convinced. I'll just use this as an example. Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl 60 champions tatted on his calf. And by week 3, he regrets it. So Andrew Garcia, come on, man. What? You bought the tickets. They didn't ask you to. It's not like LeBron came out and said, it will be my last game. Just kidding. That would be effed up. That would be really, come on. That would be messed up if LeBron did that. He teased decision part 2 or decision number 2, wore the same clothes that he did when he had the first original decision that lit the world on fire in 2010. And it turns out it was an ad campaign. It was a Hennessy commercial. Tom Brady did something very similar. He did, I think it was a Hulu commercial. This was after his last year in New England. I remember it was during the Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl in 2020. And it's Brady going through the tunnel of an empty football stadium. He's like, I've been thinking a long time over this. I've decided to join Hulu or something like that. It's do you really think Tom Brady was going to retire in a Super Bowl commercial? You really think LeBron James was going to tease his retirement a week before the season? Come on, man. Dude, in the middle of preseason, what do we know? Do I think LeBron's going to have a retirement tour? Yeah, that's why I don't think this is going to be his last year. There was a time where I thought, okay, year 23, he's played with Bronny. It's Luka's team now. Go out while you're still a great player. I feel like next year's more likely to be Bron's last year because he would have announced. Kobe announced a month into his last year, but we had kind of known Kobe had been tailing off. LeBron's not the player he used to be, but he's still an all-NBA guy. He's still a surefire all-star. Still giving you 24-8-7 or 24-7-6, either one. But yeah, Andrew Garcia, I ain't gonna lie. I hope you lose this case, man. What were you thinking? Listen, the Bible says it best. The Bible says a lot of things best. Fooling his money will soon part. I'll leave it at that. LeBron and the Lakers did not make you buy those tickets, dude. They didn't make you do that. Anyways, let's transition to NFL predictions. Week 5, or why do I keep saying week 5? Week 7. And before we do, let's go ahead and look at how I did last week, my overall record. So overall record improved 59-33-1. The one tie, obviously, Dallas and Green Bay. Rough week against the spread. I went 11-4 last week, but 6-9 against the spread. Rough week on if I were a bet man. That was that sucked. That was painful. 6-9 on if I were a bet man. That was I can explain it could have gone better. But by the way, I think that says 6-9. I think that I should actually say 7-11. I think that should be updated to 7-11, but regardless, I'll do better. I'll put it that way. But Bryce's Bleak Bet 3-3, that's the only segment that should have a 500 or below record because it is quite literally called Bryce's Bleak Bet. And as I always say, it's the one game each and every week that I have absolutely zero confidence predicting, but you got to predict them all. But upset of the week, folks, 4-2. And those 4 W's have all come consecutively. And I got one recently, Monday Night Football. Thank you, Chicago Bears, for taking care of business against the Washington Commanders. 5.5-point dogs winning outright. It was 1 point off the correct score. I had 26-24. Ended up being 25-24. Sue me. But here we go. Week 7 NFL predictions. Very, very excited. I feel like I can't go undefeated because, Steelers. But I feel like I'm going to go undefeated in the big ones, right? If I were a bet man, as well as upset of the week. So here we go. Alrighty, we will start with the London game, Sunday morning. Los Angeles Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Rams on a neutral site are favored by 3.5. So, listen, Rams are coming off kind of an ugly win, 17-3 against the Baltimore Ravens. Looked abysmal offensively in the first half, which was pretty disturbing given the fact that Baltimore is one of the 3 worst defenses in football, and also disturbing because Puka Nacua went down in the first half, comes back, isn't really involved in the offense. He's not playing this week, so Puka is not going to be available for the LA Rams against the Jacksonville Jaguars. As for Jacksonville, Tough loss, short week, but still, though, at home against Seattle, they lose the game. Jackson's been the jig, but just torches that defense. Brian Thomas Jr., I don't know what's going on, but he and Trevor just cannot get on the same page. When there was a big play, second half, Jags are down 8. Man, okay, they can drive it, tie the game. Here we go. Trevor, who had a up and down afternoon against Seattle, throws Brian Thomas a perfect pass. He just drops it. And it pretty much kills Jacksonville's chance to come back right there. I'll say this. Man, with Puka out, Devontae Adams, now your number one. Devontae Adams, at this point in his career, great number 2, but year 12, not the player he used to be, especially if you're going to, shift multiple guys to that side of the field to double them up. You'd still have Tutu Atwell. You still have guys that can beat you. It's in London. The Jaguars are playing London. I'm going with Jacksonville, man. They're living off turnovers, number 1 in the NFL in takeaways. Stafford, at times, not this year, but at times, has been known to be a little careless with the football. I think it's a close one. I've got 24-22. Rams have already lost 2 games this year that they shouldn't have, right? The 19-point comeback by Philadelphia to beat the Rams in week 3, and then a couple weeks ago against the Niners, just an unacceptable loss. Big home favorite against Mac Jones and the beat-up Niners. Couldn't get the job done in that spot. I think the Rams will lose this game. Jags win, plus 3.5, and the outright W, 24-22. I almost made this next game if I were a Batman, but it's just too big of a line. I feel like I'm going to regret not picking this if I were a Batman, but nonetheless, here we go. Vegas Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs, AFC West matchup from Arrowhead. The Chiefs are 12.5-point favorites, biggest ones of the weekend. No surprise there. So, listen, this is going to be the first time in 3 years that Kansas City's going to trot out a fully healthy offense that can go off on you like that. Rashee Rice, after missing all but 4 games of last year because of an ACL, missing every game this year, all 6 because of a suspension, he is back in the lineup for the Kansas City Chiefs. So now, Patrick Mahomes, who quite simply has been en fuego, the Chiefs, obviously, you can say the same thing. They have yet to not score 30 when Xavier Worthy is in the lineup healthy, right? 37 against Baltimore, 31 against Jacksonville, and 30 against the Detroit Lions. Really kind of pushed the Lions all over the field, which was shocking because Detroit is the, bite you in the kneecap team. Kansas City took up to him physically. The first time since these 3 receivers have been together, or at least teammates. Rice, Worthy, Hollywood Brown. First time that they will play together. And by the way, you still have Travis Kelce. Not the player he used to be, but still effective on third down. Obviously great in the red zone. I think, given the fact that Mahomes 12-2 again in his career against the Raiders, given the fact that Vegas, Geno Smith, he had a not awful game against the Titans last week. I guess that's a win. I mean, the Raiders did quite literally win, but Geno hasn't been very good this year. Given the fact that Kansas City's defense has really flipped the switch after a rough first 2 games of the year, Chiefs big, man. I'm going to go 34-17. This is not going to be close. I think this is going to be Raiders get like a late touchdown to make it kind of respectable. But yeah, Chiefs cover. I almost made this, and if I were a Batman game at 12.5 is a lot. And it is a divisional game for what it's worth. But I do think Kansas City will cover. I think this offense is on absolute fire right now. And given outside of Max Crosby, this Raiders defense is awful. So I like the Chiefs for this spot. Windy game coming up featuring 2 bad teams, the Miami Dolphins and the Cleveland Browns from Cleveland. Cleveland is a 1.5-point favorite. 2.5-point favorite. I apologize. So the reason I say windy, it's going to be about 65 degrees. So actually pretty good for mid-October in Cleveland, Ohio. Problem is, according to local weather reports from the Northeast Ohio area, wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles an hour. Not ideal, especially for 2 left-handed quarterbacks, which I think this is the first left-handed quarterback matchup in almost 2 decades. Tua Tagovailoa and Dylan Gabriel, neither of which have crazy arms. Matter of fact, that's probably the biggest liability they both have, is their arm strength. So I'll say this about Dylan Gabriel. I was not a believer in his coming out of Oregon. I thought he was a very limited prospect. Again, arm strength, didn't move terribly well. I mean, he's 5'10", 5'11", like it doesn't bring any of the tangible qualities you want in a franchise quarterback. I still vehemently believe that Shedeur Sanders is the more talented player, and Shedeur will get his opportunity at some point this season. He's been solid in the first 2 games, for what it's worth. For given what he's working with, given that it's Cleveland, given the fact that it was Minnesota's defense and Pittsburgh's defense isn't very good. So maybe not as good as I thought. But Brian Flores' defense, listen, had a lead late. Carson Wentz needed to put together a drive, throw a game-winning touchdown to Jordan Addison to win that game in London back in week 5. That's something. Having him throw the ball 52 times last week against Pittsburgh probably wasn't the smartest call by Kevin Stefanski, but in Dylan Gabriel's defense, did not get a lot of help from Jerry Jeudy, from David Njoku, who just had a bad case of the drops all game long against my Steelers. I think this Miami Dolphins locker room is shattered. I think it's beyond repair. Mike McDaniel, we knew he had lost the team a while ago. I mean, nothing would show you that more than Mike McDaniel walking off the field after the Dolphins blew a 17-point lead to the Panthers 2 weeks ago. I mean, takes his glass off, just looks like the most dejected man in America. And then he got Tua, and I talked about this on Carving Up the Context on Wednesday. The video's on the YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out. Tua talking about, hey, guys aren't showing up to the players-only meetings. What's going on? And then in his apology, he blames the media for even making a story. His left tackle calls him out. It's a disaster, Miami. So I've got the Browns. I think the Cleveland Browns win this game. I'll be nice to you, Cleveland, today. It's midseason. Y'all get a W. You weren't going to go 1-16. 24-17, I do like the Browns minus 2.5. Tua in 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. Don't love that at all. Browns get the W over the Dolphins, 24-17. Revenge game. Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans go to Nashville, to Vrabel's old stomping grounds, to take on the Tennessee Titans, who have an argument to be the worst team in the NFL. The Patriots are 6.5-point favorites on the road. Here's what I'll say. So first of all, Drake May, do we have the Drake May numbers? Yeah, here we go. We got the graphic. Drake May this season's been excellent. 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, 73% completion, 253 passing a game, pass rating of 112. By the way, 5 games in a row with a passer rating over 100, which is very impressive. And QBR 0 to 100 of, of 72. Drake May has played outstanding football, so much so, he's getting MVP buzz. People talking about, could Drake May be like a dark horse MVP candidate? That's how he's been playing, and he's been excellent. Good with his legs, making good decisions, in the pocket, outside the pocket. As for Tennessee, they fired Brian Callahan, 4-19, not just straight up, but against the spread, which I think is the worst record in NFL history by a coach against the spread. Here's what I'll say, because I get there's the revenge factor. Vrabel wants to come in and just mollywop the Titans. They fired him. People didn't really get it. Like, he didn't get along with the GM. Okay, get rid of the GM. Vrabel's a great coach. What are you doing? No one's surprised. Maybe we're a little surprised with how good New England's been. No one's surprised that they're a solid team because Vrabel's a great coach and they spent money in free agency. I've always had this theory, and I think it's always bared itself out in the NFL over time, is the substitute teacher theory. Is that, you remember when you were a kid and maybe your teacher was sick or out of town or whatever the case may be, and the substitute comes in, you don't do a lecture, you like watch Toy Story or something. Like, it was funny. You always watch the movie. That's what it's like having an interim head coach in the NFL. Right? The old guy gets fired. People are kind of like, whew, glad we got him out of here. He was, oh, God. And Callahan was not exactly the most beloved guy in Tennessee, to say the very least. So you got Mike McCoy coming in. Former head coach, pretty likable guy. Can kind of get the most out of players from an emotional standpoint. Okay, all right, former head coach is out. We're all just trying to put good tape out there. Titans players know their season's over. They're 1-5. They're a bad football team. They're cooked. It's the substitute teacher theory. Think about the guy Rizzi last year with the Saints. Won a couple games in a row. Looked pretty good. Antonio Pierce took over for Josh McDaniels, who people couldn't stand in Vegas. McDaniels, a great OC, awful head coach. Antonio Pierce takes over and fools everybody thinking maybe this is the Raiders' next head coach. They make the mistake of hiring him to be their full-time guy, and they fire him after one season because the Raiders were awful. That's what I think we'll see to a degree. Maybe not where they offer Mike McCoy the job after the season's over, but substitute teacher theory. Patriots win. Put up the final score. Patriots win 26-23. It's close. We've seen some wacky upsets in the NFL the last few weeks. I don't think we see it in this spot, but as good as I think New England is, they were at number 8 on Bryson's Best 10 this week. I think the Patriots are a good football team. Drake May's playing great football, and Vrabel's a Coach of the Year candidate. I don't know if they're ready to be 6.5-point favorites on the road yet. I know the Titans are bad, and if Brian Callahan was the coach, I would take the Patriots to cover. But 6.5, new coach, substitute teacher theory, I think Tennessee covers plus 6.5. All right, it is now time for my favorite segment of all time. Let's get a bounce back week. Let's get our first undefeated week of the season. It is called
Ira Bet Man.
Ira Bet Man. Ugly game, guys. I'm looking at the Carolina Panthers and the New York Football Jets from the Meadowlands. The Panthers on the road are favored -1.5. So here's the thing for the Jets. They're 0-6, the only winless team left in the NFL. Justin Fields, unless he's playing the Steelers, has not been a very good quarterback. Hasn't turned the football over, but has not been accurate. 63% completion against everybody else, not named the Steelers. It's not been good. A touchdown a game, not great. And Garrett Wilson's out this week. Or he's doubtful. Garrett Wilson's probably not going to play this week for the Jets. For Carolina, 2-game winning streak, albeit against two teams that aren't that good in Miami and Dallas, but still, 2 home wins. You were down 17 to Miami, came back and won. You were down in the fourth quarter against Dallas, came back and won. Bryce Young had the big fourth down conversion. In the absence of Chuba Hubbard, how about Rico Dowdle, who's just gone off 200 yards from scrimmage in the last 2 games? He's top 5 in the NFL in rushing. I think in this spot against the Jets, I think Dave Canales has done a solid job in Carolina. This O-line is not great. It's been solid. Bryce Young has played efficient football. Ted McMillan, by the week, looks like the guy that Panthers fans hoped he would be as that true number 1 wide receiver out of Arizona. If I were a bet man, I like Carolina -1.5. 27-20 is the final score. I know folks are like, if the Jets can't win this game, what game will they win? They're not going to go 0-17. They'll get a game at some point, maybe against like Miami or somebody. But Carolina, again, road favorite. I think they're ready, at least against the only winless team left. Rico Dowdle stepped up. Jets at times struggled to stop the run. No Garrett Wilson for the Jets. Ted McMillan stepping up. Sauce Gardner's really struggled. If I were a bet man, I like the Panthers -1.5. There you go. All right, it's now time for Bryson's Bleak Bet. It's the one game each and every week that I've absolutely zero confidence in predicting. But hey, you got to predict them all. It's not the outcome that I'm struggling to predict so much as it is the line. I don't love this line. New Orleans Saints, Chicago Bears from the Windy City. The Bears are 4.5-point favorites. Man, I went back and forth on this because here's the thing. Y'all know how much I believe in the Bears as a playoff team this year. Y'all know how much I believe in Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I think as time goes on, in about 2 or 3 weeks, those guys are really going to start to get it to click, right? First 2 games of the year, there's just a disconnect. Caleb is missing guys, getting frustrated, and oh my gosh, they lose to Minnesota, and then they get boat raced by Detroit in week 2, and the sky's falling. And then Caleb, as a lot of quarterbacks have done this season against the Dallas Cowboys defense, shreds them. Builds his confidence back up. They win an ugly game against the Raiders. And then they win an ugly game against the Washington Commanders, a revenge game. Games that the Bears did not win last year. 3-7 was Chicago in 1-score games. This year, 2-1. So they've shown they can win close. But a short week, especially a short week in which the last game they played was on the road. So they got back to Chicago early Tuesday morning. Meanwhile, the Saints, who I thought this year would be the runaway worst team in football, and that very well could still be the case. But recently, they've played fine. They competed with Buffalo, which Buffalo's not playing very well right now, and Buffalo has not won a game since that matchup against New Orleans Saints. But that was a 2-point game with 7 minutes to go. That was one of my If I Were a Betman games 2 weeks ago because I'm like, oh my God, Saints on the road in Buffalo, Bills on extra rest. They're going to, holy crap, it's close to Saints. If they didn't run a dumb trick play in the first half, a wide receiver pass that results in an interception at the goal line, the Saints have a shot to win that game in Buffalo. And then the next week, they do beat the New York Giants. That's their 1 win of the year. Come back, force a bunch of turnovers on Jackson Dart and that Giants offense, win the game. And then last week, to their credit, they kind of made it interesting with New England. Drake May was out there throwing it all over the yard, looking fantastic, and New Orleans kept it close, to their credit. So on the road in Chicago, am I tempted to take New Orleans plus 4.5? I am. I because of how they've been playing as of late, because of the injuries that the Chicago Bears have on their defensive line. But I think Chicago sees an opportunity where it's, man, if we could win 4 games in a row, gosh, like that's a real boost. We'll see what happens with the Vikings and the Packers and the Lions, all of which have relatively tough games this week. Take care of this spot, we're in the division race. We feel good about ourselves, right? We were 4-2 last year, and then that's where the season went to hell after the Hail Mary against Washington. We can learn from those different mistakes. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, they're figuring it out as time goes on, as I said they would back in August. So I like that graphic has the Bears as the road team. I apologize. That should have Chicago as the home team because they're at home in Chicago in this matchup. But I do like the Bears minus 4.5. I like it. I don't love it. But Chicago -4.5. Again, that should have the Bears the home team and Saints as the road team. I apologize for that. But Chicago -4.5. If I shouldn't say if I were a bet man, not far from it. Bryce's bleak bet, I guess I'll take the Bears to cover. This was almost Bryce's bleak bet because I don't know what to do with this game. Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings from US Bank Stadium, which I've said many times on the show, said it a lot last year, is one of the better home field advantages in the NFL. It is when those fans get to doing the skull chant, that place is crazy. Philly on the road is a 2.5-point favorite. Carson Wentz is going to be the starter once again, 4th straight game for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been solid, played quite well against the Bengals. Then again, who doesn't? But the next week kind of struggles against my Steelers until the 4th quarter when he kind of gets it going, and then leads the game when he drive to beat a very good Cleveland Browns defense in week 6, or week 5 rather. This is a must-win game for Philadelphia to remain a Super Bowl contender. I kind of have a rule on the show. If you lose, if you lose 3 games in a row, I do not consider you a Super Bowl contender. I think listen, you're going to lose games in the NFL. Not everyone can be the 72 Dolphins. There's a reason we just talk about the 72 Dolphins. You lose a game, happens. It's the NFL. It's hard. These are all professionals. And then you lose a second one. Okay, we're in a little bit of a slump. We need to get this 3rd win. And then you lose that one too. Why should I believe that you're capable of winning 4 straight playoff games and winning a Super Bowl against the best of the best at the conference, and in the case of the Super Bowl, the league has to offer? This is a must-win for Philadelphia. I am here to tell you today, the defending Super Bowl champions, I picked them to represent the NFC for the 2nd straight year in the Super Bowl. I predicted before the season we're going to get a rematch. Chiefs-Eagles. Unless there's a catastrophic injury to an Eagle, which not going, hopefully that isn't the case. If they lose this game, I do not buy them as a Super Bowl contender. That simple. Right? You lose to Denver. You did blow it in the 4th quarter. And then you get boat raced by the Giants. And then if you're not able to win again in this spot, now you're 4-3. And A.J. Brown's even more angry. And I'll say this. Extra rest after that game against the Giants. Facing a Vikings team off of a bye, facing Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores off a bye is a little concerning if you're an Eagles fan. But this feels like about the time. If not now or in the next couple of weeks, we may not see it at all, that Saquon Barkley goes off. We've kind of been waiting 6 games in the season. When's Saquon going to pop off? When's he going to look like 2024 Saquon, Offensive Player of the Year Saquon? Same with the offensive line. Listen, I think they have an offensive coordinator who is in over his head. I do. I think we're going to get a good dose of Saquon Barkley. It's close, but I'll take the Eagles -2.5, 26-21. They got to win this game. They have to win this game to remain, in my mind, a Super Bowl contender, 26-21. I can't wait for this game. Indianapolis Colts, Los Angeles Chargers from SoFi. The Chargers are a favorite at home of -1.5. So, Colts are a funny team. Not just the fact that they've... Who'd have thought the Colts would have the best record in football through the first month of the season? But the fact that they're 5-1, and it feels like it's the most fair and just 5-1 that you could have from a team. In that, week 2, they won a game they should have lost to the Denver Broncos. They missed a 60-yard field goal. There's a leverage call against Denver, get to attempt a 45-yarder, and they win it. And then against the Rams, in SoFi, so the Colts are used to playing there, in SoFi against the Rams, A.D. Mitchell breaks off a 70-something yard touchdown and fumbles the ball before he crosses the goal line. And even still, game's tied late. Stafford, it's 2-2 Outwell, 88 yards later, and the Rams win the game. The LA Chargers, that is, got just a gigantic win last week against the Miami Dolphins. That was a spot where, like I said, 3 straight losses, you're not a contender. So that would have been 3 straight losses for the Chargers. Go to Miami, get a W, put yourself in a position, Justin Herbert making the play of the game to Ladd McConkey, Dicker the kicker walks it off. You needed to get that one. It was, West Coast to Miami, long flight, 10 a.m. Pacific time kickoff. Let's just get in here, get a W, and fly home. I don't know if Joe Alt is going to be back. He's questionable for this game. It's huge if they do get him back because obviously Rashawn Slater is done for the year. Both of the top 2 running backs for the Chargers, Amari Hampton and Najee Harris, are out. Harris is done for the year. Hampton is on IR. We'll see how long he's out. He was playing great before he did go down. Khalil Mack's hurt. This team has just been ravaged by injuries. This is kind of going to be the first, are you legit Indianapolis Colts test? Because you say, well, they beat Denver. Denver's not a good offense, and Denver, that was a fluky win. It still counts the same. You take a win. You don't ever apologize for the win in the NFL, but it was a fluky win. If not for a leverage call, they lose the game. Generally this year, they really haven't beaten good teams. They haven't. They kind of survived Arizona last week. But with the injuries to the Chargers, and this matters, familiarity playing that stadium, they played there just a few weeks ago. I like the Colts, plus 1.5 to win outright. High-scoring game. I think Lou Anarumo's done a great job with this defense, but I think Justin Herbert is going to go off. All of his targets will be fired up and ready to go in the case of Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen. Give me the Colts 31-28, plus 1.5, and to win this one. I think we're going to get a lot of points. Very, very excited for this matchup. Colts plus 1.5, 31-28. All right, New York Giants, Denver Broncos, Peyton and Eli's former teams, right? Or one of Peyton's former teams against Eli's former team. Denver at home is a 7.5-point favorite. The Broncos are such an enigma. They really are. They have arguably, this isn't arguable. They do have the best offensive and defensive line tandem. I think according to Pro Football Focus, both are ranked in the top 3. The defense, or the defensive line, leads the NFL by a mile in sacks. My Steelers are second in the NFL with 22 sacks. The Broncos have 30. 8 more sacks than second place. Nick Bonito, if he isn't the runaway right now for defensive player of the year, I don't know who is. The guy is unblockable. This is a guy, he is not getting talked about enough as one of the elite pass rushers of the game with the Watts and the Garretts and the Micah Parsons and all of these guys. Mention Nick Bonito. This guy's a game wrecker. And with Pat Surtain as well. Broncos defense is unbelievable. Problem is their offense is just I don't even want to call it a roller coaster because they haven't really had the highs that a good roller coaster has. And they win a game against the Jets last week where they scored 13 points. Where Aaron Glenn basically has to aid them in bungling the clock at the end of the first half. Justin Fields playing awful. And the Broncos defense is to bail them out over the course of that game. Bo Nix has not been good this season. He hasn't. I want him to work out. I think he's a good fit with Sean Payton. The Broncos need to get a number 2 receiver next to Cortland Sutton with Marvin Mims. I don't know. However, listen, I believe in the Giants' core. I think they've got a bright future ahead of them. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboob, Malik Neighbors, once he gets back next year, obviously not having him in this game is devastating, obviously, and having the rest of the season is not having him the rest of the season is devastating. But having guys of a Brian Burns in the defense, right? Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, bright future here for the Giants. That is a big ask to go on the road in Denver. I know the Giants have an amazing D-line, but the Broncos maybe have the best offensive line in football. So they can neutralize that. That's a big ask to go to Denver in that defense and win a football game. That's a lot to ask. I'll take the Broncos 23-14. I'm not crazy about the line at 7.5. If the line got as high as 8.5, 9, then I'd take the Giants. I would take them to cover. But I like Denver in this spot, 23-14 over the New York Giants. They will be the most confusing 5-2 team that you will see. Okay, let's turn the music off for just a second because this is a big moment. Because if I were a bet man, it has not been rolling this far. We still got 2 more if I were a bet man games to go. And Bryson's Bleak Bet is what it is. It's a 500 segment. It should be a 500 segment because I'm not sure. But upset of the week, that's when I take almost as much pride in it as if I were a bet man. And increasingly, I'm taking even more pride in it than if I were a bet man. Because, just as a note, I'm 4-0 in my last 4 games. 4-game winning streak. And we put this little video together to illustrate that. It is now time for my upset of the week. Divisional matchup. Here we go. Give me the Carolina Panthers, baby. Keep pounding over the Atlanta Falcons, 23-21. Carolina plus 5.5, which I love, by the way. And to win this game outright. It is now time for my upset of the week. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars to beat the San Francisco 49ers, hand them their first loss of the 2025 season, 21-19, in somewhat of a defensive battle. Jaguars not just plus 3.5, but to win this game outright. Time for my upset of the week. I'm on a 2-game winning streak in this. Give me the New England Patriots, baby, over the Buffalo Bills, 28-27. New England gets their first signature win under Mike Vrabel. Patriots now plus 7.5 to win outright, baby. It is now time for my upset of the week. I'm sure you know what it is by now. Give me the Chicago Bears over the Washington Commanders, 26-24. Bears plus 5.5 and the straight up W. When you're hot, folks. I mean, it just is what it is. When you are on a roll, you just got to keep being on a roll. It's like being I feel like I'm Steph Curry and I've made 3 threes in a row and the fourth one I'm taking from half court, man. I'm going all out. So, it is now time for the hottest segment in all of sports, radio, television, podcasting, and print. Upset of the week. Give me the Arizona Cardinals over the Green Bay Packers, 27-24. Cardinals, not just plus 6.5, but to win outright. 27-24 over the Green Bay Packers, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray. It don't matter. Arizona with the straight up W. I'll tell you exactly why. So, listen, the Cardinals this year are far and away the best 2-4 team, which feels like a backhanded compliment, but they are. Listen, their issue has been pretty simple. They cannot close close games, win or lose, right? They're 2 wins against the Saints and against the Carolina Panthers. Both games against, either mid or bad teams came down the wire when they really shouldn't have. Both games, they had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, couldn't finish, or they did finish and get the W, but couldn't finish the way that they wanted to do so. In the last 4 games, close games against the Niners, against the Seahawks, right? Last week against the Indianapolis Colts with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Like, they've struggled in these spots. But I got to tell you, Packers are 3-1-1, and they were not featured on Bryson's Best 10 this week. I'm sorry. I've not been impressed by Green Bay. I've not been impressed by the fact that this is a Packers defense that is getting to the quarterback as much as they did last year. And they were a good pass rush last year, but with Micah Parsons, that number should go up. I think it's around like 32%-ish that they're getting to the quarterback. Same numbers it was a year ago. Jordan Love, man, he is hot and he is cold. He'll make a couple of throws a game where it's like, man, is that prime Rodgers or Jordan Love? And they'll make another throw. It's like, is that Jameis Winston? What are we doing? No shade to Jameis. I like you, Jameis. No beef. We like you here and carving it up. Regardless, this Cardinals offense is starting to get a little bit of a rhythm. Marvin Harrison Jr. has, after a rough start to the year, has kind of gotten in his game. Trey McBride is the best tight end in the league that nobody talks about. Cardinals run game has been fine despite the injuries. At home, 6.5-point dog. Give me the outright W, baby. Arizona Cardinals over the Green Bay Packers, 27-24. That is my upset of the week. And folks, that's 5 straight correct upsets of the week on tap for you guys. I'm guaranteeing it. That's what's going to happen. All right, it is now time for my favorite segment of all time, although if upset of the week keeps hitting, that may not be the case anymore. It is time for...
You're a bet man.
If I were a bet man, NFC East matchup, divisional matchup in Big D in Dallas. Jerry World, Washington Commanders, Dallas Cowboys. The Commanders are a 1.5-point favorite on the road in Jerry World. Both teams for different reasons, I shouldn't say for different reasons, for similar reasons, really need to win. Obviously, both teams are pulling for Minnesota to beat Philadelphia because with a win, hey, we're both of us are in the division race. It's a tight, tight down the wire finish here. So both teams, it appears, will be getting back the number 1 receiver. Washington with Terry McLaurin, Dallas with CeeDee Lamb, which is gigantic for both squads. Both offenses were relatively productive without those guys, but with them, it brings a whole new dynamic. Dak Prescott has quite simply been magic over the last 2 weeks with no CeeDee Lamb, with an awful defense. In the case of last week, no running game and no Kevontae Turpin. Last 3 weeks, Dak Prescott, 11 touchdowns, no picks, 71% completion, 282 pass yards per game, 125 passer rating, and a QBR 0 to 100 of 90.9. Dak's been balling. Rain Dakota Prescott. Jaden Daniels, same thing. It was great against the LA Chargers, leading the Commanders to 27 unanswered after being down 10-0. And last week, again, the turnover late, brutal. But some of those throws he was making against Chicago was just like, oh, that's the guy who was the runaway offensive rookie of the year in 2024. That's the guy that Washington knows is now their franchise quarterback and a potential superstar quarterback in this league. The problem with both teams, their defenses are bad. They're real bad. So we're going to see a lot of points. Dak and Jaden have actually never played because both of the Cowboys-Commanders games last year, Dak wasn't healthy. So it's very similar to Tennessee and Alabama. We're going to see a lot of points in this game. But you're telling me against a divisional team as a home underdog with his top 2 receivers, I can take Dak Prescott? Oh, you better believe it. Cowboys, baby, over the Commanders, 38-35. Very high-scoring game. Dak continues his dominance and continues to put himself firmly in the MVP discussion. Listen, Dak has been just foaming at the mouth to get at this Washington defense. Cowboys, 38-35 over the Commanders. High-scoring affair. Whoever gets the ball last wins. I think it'll be Dak Prescott. He has been very successful in his career against the Washington Commanders. I think he's only lost twice to them in his entire career. Dallas over Washington. If I were a bet man, love the Cowboys plus 1.5 and with the straight-up W, 38-35. And again, last game for...
You're a betting man.
If I were a bet man, Sunday Night Football. I'm not going to lie. I'm shocked by this line. That's why I'm taking it the way that I'm taking it. It's the Atlanta Falcons and the San Francisco 49ers from Levi Stadium. And the beat-up Niners are a 2.5-point favorite against Atlanta. Now, I get it. Atlanta's on short rest. They played, just this past Monday against the Buffalo Bills, won that game. Very impressive defensive performance, multiple turnovers forced on Buffalo. But I don't get it. Ricky Pearsall's out again for the 49ers. Brandon Ayuk is still out. George Kittle is still out. Trent Williams has regressed to a degree. Nick Bosa's out for the year. Fred Warner's out for the year. This team is ravaged by injuries. The fact that Kyle Shanahan's gotten this team to 4-2 is nothing short of a miracle. So against Atlanta, against a defense that has been really, take out the Carolina game, which was mostly a product of Michael Penix putting the defense in bad situations, the defense has been awesome. Raheem Morris is a defensive guy. And the more the smart defensive coaches in this league, it was a cute little Cinderella run for a while, but the more they get film on Mac Jones, the better chance they have to take advantage of him, to take advantage of a beat-up and regressing Niners O-line, a receiving core that is non-existent at this point, a defense that is without its top 2 players, both of which may have futures in Canton someday, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Give me the Atlanta Falcons. Plus 2.5 and the outright win, 25-20. That should say Niners at 4-2. I apologize for that, but 25-20. Atlanta Falcons over the San Francisco 49ers. If I were a bet man, take Atlanta plus 2.5. And with that, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by as always. Big shout out to Arthur Hurst, my co-host, along with Tim Barnard of the Saturday Morning Tailgate, which airs tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time, live on the Grid Network. Can we show the Saturday Morning Tailgate logo? Here we go. Saturday Morning Tailgate, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow to kick off your college football Saturday. And boy, we've got some great matchups. You got LSU and Vanderbilt, which will be a fun one in the early window. You got huge game, Ole Miss, Georgia. You got Notre Dame and USC. But most importantly, at least to me, the third Saturday in October, 11th ranked Tennessee, 6th ranked Alabama. Come on now. Vols, baby, all day long. Max Gilbert, you're going to redeem yourself, buddy. I believe in you. Vol Nation, we're backing you. We need you to make a big kick. I think you're getting an opportunity to do it, and you're going to knock that pigskin right through the uprights, and we'll be smoking them cigars in Tuscaloosa. All right. We'll see you on Saturday Morning Tailgate tomorrow. Be sure to check out, before carving it up, on Monday, the Bryson Carver Show on 89.5 The Edge that airs via the TuneIn app. If you can't find it, no worries. I'll put the link on my stories, my IG stories a few minutes before I go on the air. Bryson Carver Show, 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern time, 89.5 The Edge via the TuneIn app. I'll put the link on my story. So just download the TuneIn app ahead of time. And of course, carving up, we'll be right back here, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, live on YouTube, X, Facebook, and on Instagram. We will see you then. Have a great weekend. Dodgers, I think they're going to wrap it up tonight, go to the World Series. Mariners, you need to win tonight. I believed in y'all coming into the playoffs. You were my pick to win the AL. Get it done tonight, Seattle. Go up 3-2. Go and win this series. I wouldn't mind to see a game 7. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind to see it. But it'll be a Dodgers-Mariners World Series. I'm calling it now, just like I called it before the playoffs started. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. And I'm still mad about the Steelers. I'm not going to lie to you. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.